Politics now. A group of ANC supporters have gathered outside Luthuli House, the party's headquarters. This in support of embattled Party Secretary General Ace Magashule. Magashule is visiting former President Jacob Zuma. You'll remember he said during the 30 days before he's meant to step aside from his role, he'll consult former ANC leaders. Let's take you now to eNCA's Siphamandla Goge, who joins us now with party spokesperson Pule Mabe. And Siphamandla, you heard from the supporters and members of the ANC outside about their grievances about the step-aside policy. Now for a take from the ANC's communications guru, Pule Mabe.
Yes, indeed. He is the man who's going to be having a very tough job moving forward from today to Lasizwe. I can tell you that the minute that 5 o'clock deadline lapses, Pule Mabe will have to be fielding questions about all provinces, whether they have submitted those lists. Remember, the National Executive Committee of the ANC directed the Secretary General to ask all provinces to submit lists of all those who are criminally charged and those who will be affected by the step-aside policy, and also ensure that they are informed in writing. So today is the deadline. The Secretary General is in KwaZulu-Natal meeting with former President Jacob Zuma, as he has already met with the former Treasurer General of the ANC, Matthew Potha. He will be meeting with former President Thabo Mbeki as well as former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. But right now we are joined by the spokesperson of the ANC, Pule Mabe. As I hear some singing downstairs, I can tell you that those protesters are still out there protesting. Basically, they are calling for this step-aside policy to be halted for now. They are saying it's being used as a political witch hunt. They are saying all those who are implicated, they must step aside. But the resolution is clear that those who are criminally charged. Pule Mabe, thank you very much for your time, Baba. Are all provinces complying with the deadline? Have you started receiving those lists?
Siphamandla, that is the work that the Secretary General's office is seized with. They have already communicated to provinces. We have issued a statement on the outcomes of the National Working Committee, indeed restating the fact that provincial secretaries through the SGO would then have to do that kind of a compilation and then make sure that such submissions are made by the 15th, which is today.
What do you make of the protest downstairs? Some people are vehemently opposed to the step-aside policy, and we remember also that letter that was issued out by the Secretary General widening the scope, saying those who are alleged to be involved and those who are implicated. There seems to be some confusion here in terms of what the resolution says and what the letter from the Secretary General says.
Well, I wouldn't even want to enter that terrain, because we have already issued a statement of the National Executive Committee.
But you can't ignore it.
Of course, I'm really doing my best to reconcile what is already out in the public. We had an NEC meeting on the 26th to the 29th of March, took certain decisions, including on step-aside, had said that during the 30-day period, a number of activities would have to be undertaken, making sure that those that are affected by this decision are accordingly informed, that lists are compiled and all of that, so that at the end of the 30-day period, if there's not been any movement, especially from those that could be affected, then the decision of the NEC was then that you activate Rule 25.70. But we have also said that it is important that we also finalize on those reports of the Integrity Commission, because there were quite a number of reports by the IC which needed to be processed by the National Executive Committee.
Those who are protesting downstairs as we speak now, you can hear them. They have a list of many ANC leaders and members whom they are saying must also step aside. So you can't avoid this conflict and this confusion about those implicated and those charged.
Well, of course, I mean the ANC is watching all these developments in the country closely and with great interest. And I'm sure that when the structure of the ANC in the form of the National Executive Committee meets, it will be able to take stock of all of this, because it is important that when we implement weighty decisions of the African National Congress, we take everyone on board. The work that has been done, including the circulation of the guidelines on step aside, is to make sure that there is a fair understanding amongst our members on what is being intended by the guidelines.
Very briefly on those guidelines, Pule, we understand that ANC members have been asked to write again to the officials through the Treasurer General to submit their submissions on the guidelines, the step-aside guidelines. Is that not confusing when a decision and a resolution has been taken, but still you are still accepting some submissions?
Well, the work that the Office of the Treasurer General is doing is to really consolidate all of that. Remember, in the first meeting, when we finished the first meeting where we adopted the guidelines, we did say that the guidelines are a living document, meaning that there will be comments made by provinces. Yesterday, the guidelines were circulated out to the public, effectively outlining the framework under which the step-aside principle is to be undertaken, and instances where where the step-aside principle could actually be applied. I wanted to just...
No, it's fine, Paul. But let's talk about the Free State now. We understand that the NWC has mandated former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe to be seized with the matter of the Free State. They're following that court judgment, which basically ruled that the election of the PEC was unconstitutional. Is the NWC recommending that the PEC must not appeal that decision to seek a political solution instead?
Well, then the NWC did reflect on because officials had given a report to the National Working Committee to the extent that the most ideal thing to do in the Free State is to be able to pursue those cadres in the province to consider a political solution, so that the legal route really becomes the last option if all else fails. What I was trying to do earlier...
It's fine, Pule. We will be taking this further because we are out of time. I'm sorry about that, but we will be pursuing it further. Well, that is Pule Mabe, who's the spokesperson of the ANC, as we will continue to be tracking this story about the step-aside policy of the ANC, which surely will be a very contentious issue moving forward as the 5 o'clock deadline looms for the provinces to submit those consolidated lists.
All right, thank you for that. That's eNCA's Siphamandla Goge live for us from Luthuli House.